All right, class, today we're diving into distribution strategies.
The roadmap of how a product gets from creation to the customer.
Exactly.
We've got some awesome intel from your lessons to help you guys build a successful business.
For sure. And even though distribution might not seem as, I don't know, glamorous
Yeah.
as like coming up with the next billion-dollar app idea,
Right.
it can really make or break a company.
Absolutely. Think about it.
Yeah.
You have a company with an amazing product, but their website
Oh, yeah.
is just a total nightmare.
It's like impossible to use.
People can't figure out how to buy the thing.
They could have the best product in the world.
Yeah.
But if you can't buy it, what's the point?
It's all for nothing.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Distribution channels.
Yeah.
Your lessons mentioned 4 main types. Direct, indirect, dual, or omni-channel, and reverse.
Right.
So direct distribution is like
Okay.
if you're selling like your handmade jewelry directly to your friends or at a craft fair,
Yes.
you keep all the profit,
Yeah,
but
right.
your reach is pretty limited.
Right. Exactly.
Now imagine that same jewelry maker
Uh-huh.
decides to sell their creations through local boutiques.
Really?
That's indirect distribution,
Yeah.
bringing in those middlemen like wholesalers and retailers.
Yeah.
The maker might have to share some of the profit,
Yeah.
but their jewelry is now reaching a much larger audience.
Absolutely.
Dual or omni-channel distribution.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like taking both of those routes at the same time.
Right.
Think of a clothing brand selling through their own website, department stores, and social media.
Okay.
So they're really covering all their bases.
Uh-huh.
But it also takes a lot more coordination.
Yeah, a lot more moving parts.
Right.
Definitely.
And then we have reverse distribution.
Okay.
This is where products are moving backward through the supply chain.
So it's becoming more important?
Yeah.
As companies are starting to think about sustainability?
Right.
Like, think about those clothing brands that offer discounts.
Yeah.
If you return your old jeans for recycling,
I've seen that.
yeah, that's reverse distribution.
Okay, so choosing the right distribution channel, that's a big decision.
Huge.
It's not just about picking a lane on the roadmap.
Mhm.
It's about strategizing.
Yep.
Which route will best suit your product, your target customer, and your resources.
That's a lot to think about.
Right, and if you're selling something perishable, like cupcakes,
Oh, yeah.
you probably wouldn't want to ship them across the country.
Probably not.
You might want to focus on local deliveries or partner with some cafes in your town.
That makes sense.
And let's say you make custom skateboard decks.
Okay.
You might need to think about specialized shipping options to make sure those decks arrive in perfect condition.
Yeah, you want them to be protected.
It's all about aligning your distribution strategy with your product's needs.
For sure.
Now, within this world of distribution, there's another layer called logistics.
Okay.
So this focuses on the physical movement and storage of products.
Yeah, that's a key part of it.
So logistics is like the delivery truck on the roadmap that we're talking about.
You got it.
And companies have a lot of options when it comes to handling this part.
Yeah, they do.
They could do it all themselves, which we call 1PL.
Right, that's first-party logistics.
Or they can bring in some outside help.
Like maybe they use a 3PL,
Okay, with that.
third-party logistics provider.
Oh, okay.
Think of like a really cool Etsy shop that you love.
I love those.
Yeah, they might be using a 3PL to handle all the shipping
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
they can focus on making their crafts.
So like when I order takeout and the delivery service brings it to my door,
Exactly.
that would be like a 3PL in action.
That's a great example.
Cool.
And some companies take it a step further and outsource their entire supply chain
Wow, really?
to a 5PL provider.
Okay, so 5PL manages everything.
Yeah, like sourcing the raw materials to delivering the final product.
Wow, that's pretty hands-off.
It is.
But in our lessons, we talked about McDonald's and how they handle a lot of their own distribution.
Yeah, they're a fascinating case.
So what makes their strategy so unique?
Well, they've built their success on consistency and efficiency.
Okay.
Like, no matter where you are in the world,
Hmm.
you can walk into a McDonald's
Yeah.
and pretty much expect the same experience.
It's true. It's kind of crazy.
That requires a lot of coordination
Yeah.
across a huge supply chain.
But wouldn't it be cheaper and easier to just outsource everything?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah, like just be done with it.
But McDonald's takes a different approach.
Okay.
They use something called vertical integration.
What's that?
It means they're involved in pretty much every stage of the process,
Wow.
from sourcing ingredients to running the restaurants.
So they have a lot of control.
Exactly. Control over cost and quality.
So it's like they're making sure every single burger meets their exact standards.
Yep, no matter where it's made.
That's impressive.
And they've built strong relationships with their suppliers, their franchisees, and their employees.
Okay,
Think of it like a three-legged stool. You need all three legs for it to be stable.
that makes sense.
Each part of that relationship is crucial.
So McDonald's has really figured out how to scale their business globally, but still maintain really tight control over their entire distribution process.
It's quite a feat.
That's pretty incredible.
It is.
Now, this brings us to another key point,
Okay.
how distribution can actually add value to your product or service.
That's right.
So it's not just about getting your product from point A to point B.
Yeah.
It's about making it more convenient,
Yep.
more accessible, and ultimately more appealing to customers.
You want to make that product shine.
Exactly.
Make it irresistible. You know, when we talk about adding value through distribution, Amazon's a prime example.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They've revolutionized the way we shop by making things so instantly accessible.
I know, it's crazy how fast they can get stuff to you.
Right?
Like sometimes I feel like they're reading my mind and shipping stuff before I even order it. But how does speed actually translate to value for the customer?
Oh, okay, so think about it this way.
Okay.
You need a textbook for class tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Amazon can get it to you by tonight.
Okay.
That convenience has a real value to it.
Right.
You're willing to pay a little bit extra for that speed and that reliability because it solves a problem.
Totally. So they're not just selling products.
Right.
They're also selling peace of mind
Exactly.
and saving you time.
That's a great way to put it.
I never thought about it that way.
Uh-huh.
But doesn't that level of speed put a lot of pressure on their distribution system?
It definitely does.
How do they do it?
Well, to offer one-day shipping, Amazon has had to build this incredibly sophisticated network.
Oh, yeah.
Warehouses, delivery trucks, they even have their own airplanes now.
It's crazy.
And they're constantly innovating and finding ways to make it even more efficient.
In our lesson, we saw that example of the robots zipping around those warehouses,
Oh, yeah.
picking and packing orders.
That's amazing.
It's mind-blowing how much technology is going into all of this.
It is. It's like this perfectly choreographed dance of logistics.
Yeah.
But, even with all of that technology, there are still human workers involved.
Right, of course.
In every step of the process.
Yeah.
And making sure that those employees have fair working conditions.
Yeah.
That's a crucial part of ethical distribution.
It's important to remember that behind all the cool robots and the algorithms,
Mm-hmm.
there are real people working hard to get those packages delivered.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about a company that takes a totally different approach
Okay.
to adding value through distribution. Starbucks.
Right.
They're not focused on speed at all.
Wow.
They're all about quality and consistency.
That's their thing.
No matter where you buy Starbucks, it tastes pretty much the same.
Pretty much.
Is that part of their distribution strategy?
It absolutely is.
All right.
Starbucks has invested a lot
Uh-huh.
in training their employees, sourcing high-quality beans from around the world.
Yeah.
But they've also, very carefully designed their entire distribution network
Okay.
to ensure that their coffee is always fresh and brewed to their exact specifications.
So even though they're not delivering coffee to my door in an hour,
Right.
they're still creating value by making sure every cup meets their high standards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're creating an experience, not just a transaction.
Yeah.
And for Starbucks, that experience is all about quality and consistency,
Makes sense.
no matter where you are in the world.
Okay, so we talked about how companies like Amazon and Starbucks add value through their distribution strategies.
Mm-hmm.
But what about companies that sell products through other businesses?
Okay.
Like in our lessons, we saw an example of a bakery selling its bread to local restaurants.
Right.
How does distribution add value in that kind of scenario?
Well, in that case, the bakery is adding value by making it super easy
Okay.
for the restaurants to get high-quality bread.
Yeah.
So the restaurant doesn't have to hire its own baker or spend time making bread.
Right.
They can focus on what they do best, making meals.
So the bakery becomes part of the restaurant's supply chain,
Exactly.
and it helps them streamline their operations.
Yep.
And offer a better product.
Everybody wins.
The bakery benefits because they get increased sales and a wider reach.
It's a win-win.
Okay, now let's talk about distribution costs.
All right.
Your lessons really emphasized how important it is to understand those costs.
Yeah, if you want to make smart business decisions.
Exactly. You need to make sure you're not just getting the product out there,
Right.
but you're also doing it in a way that makes money.
You got to make a profit.
But there are so many different costs to think about.
I know, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, like our lessons mentioned, transportation costs,
Yeah.
inventory and storage costs,
Yeah.
handling costs,
Mm-hmm.
administrative costs.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
But breaking it down into categories can make it more manageable.
Okay, that's helpful.
So transportation costs are pretty straightforward. It's all about getting your product from point A to point B.
Uh-huh.
So you need to factor in things like shipping fees, fuel costs, maybe even the cost of renting a delivery truck.
Okay, and then inventory costs, those are all about storing the product before they're sold.
You got it.
So like renting a warehouse.
Yeah.
Or paying for security.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even investing in some inventory management software.
To keep track of everything.
Okay, what about handling costs?
All right, so handling costs cover the physical management of your products.
Okay, so like what?
Think about loading and unloading trucks.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you need to use forklifts to move pallets around.
Okay.
Or even having workers that are inspecting the products for quality control.
So even if you're using like a shipping company,
Right.
you might still have these handling costs.
You might.
Just to get the products ready to be shipped.
Yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, we have administrative costs.
Right, so these are all the behind-the-scenes costs
Okay.
that keep your whole distribution operation flowing smoothly.
So things like paying someone to process orders,
Mm-hmm.
or answer customer service calls, or handle returns.
Yep.
What about like packaging materials and labels
Us too.
and invoices?
Yeah, don't forget the invoices.
Okay, it sounds like there's a lot more to distribution costs
Mm-hmm.
than meets the eye.
There definitely is.
But luckily, our lesson gave us some helpful tools
Yes.
for analyzing these costs.
Yeah.
And some formulas we can use to figure out which strategies are actually going to be profitable.
Because that's the goal, right?
Exactly. We want to make money.
Yeah.
And it seems like those cost calculations are super important.
Especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
When you're trying to make the most of your budget.
Yeah, because every dollar counts.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot today.
We have.
Different types of distribution channels,
Mm-hmm.
the crazy world of logistics,
Yep.
the importance of cost analysis.
Very important.
Do you have any final thoughts for us aspiring entrepreneurs?
As we start thinking about building our own distribution strategies.
Okay, so we talked about these big companies like Amazon and Starbucks.
Yeah.
And they have all these fancy strategies and resources.
Mm-hmm.
But how does all of this apply to us?
Right.
You know, we're just starting out.
Yeah.
We don't have warehouses or robots
Yeah.
or global supply chains or anything like that.
You don't need to start with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
You can scale up gradually.
So it's like building a house.
Yeah.
You don't start with the roof.
Right.
You start with the foundation.
Exactly. First things first.
Okay.
You really need to understand your target customer.
Okay, so who am I selling to?
Exactly. Are you going for like the eco-conscious consumer
Okay.
or luxury shoppers?
Uh-huh.
Maybe busy parents looking for quick and easy solutions?
Okay, so like figure out who I'm trying to reach.
Yeah, because that's going to determine where you sell your product.
So like farmers markets,
Yeah,
high-end boutiques, online marketplaces, that kind of thing.
precisely. If you're targeting eco-conscious consumers,
Okay.
you might consider selling your products at local farmers markets
Okay.
or health food stores or online retailers that focus on sustainable products.
Okay.
But if you're going after luxury shoppers,
Uh-huh.
maybe you focus on high-end boutiques or spas.
Got it.
And then if it's busy parents,
Yeah.
maybe it's grocery stores
Okay.
or online retailers where they're already doing their shopping.
So meet the customer where they are.
Exactly. Make it easy for them to find and buy your product.
Okay, now once I know who I'm selling to and where I'm selling it,
Uh-huh.
then I have to figure out the logistics of getting the products to those locations.
Right. How are you going to do that?
So do I handle shipping myself,
Yeah.
or do I work with like a third-party logistics provider?
A 3PL.
Yeah, that's where those different levels of outsourcing come in, right?
Exactly.
We learned about that, like 2PL, 3PL, 5PL.
Yeah.
Seems like choosing the right level kind of depends on how much control I want to have and how much I'm willing to spend.
Absolutely. And don't forget about inventory management.
Oh, yeah.
How much are you going to produce?
Okay.
Where are you going to store it?
I don't want to end up with a basement full of soap.
Exactly.
That's not selling.
Nobody wants that.
Inventory management sounds like a whole other challenge.
It can be, but there are tools and technologies that can help.
Okay.
And remember, you can always start small and scale up as your business grows.
Okay, start small, scale up.
So maybe you start by selling your soap at a local farmer's market
Okay.
and fulfilling orders from your kitchen.
Makes sense.
Then, as demand increases,
Yeah.
maybe you rent a small storage unit or partner with a 3PL to handle some of the logistics.
So it's like a step-by-step process.
It is.
You don't have to have all the answers right away.
Nope.
Just got to be smart about how you grow.
Exactly. And remember, the customer experience is just as important as the logistics.
Okay, so getting the product to the customer, that's only half the battle.
That's right. You want to make sure that whole process,
Yeah.
from browsing to buying to receiving their order,
Yeah.
it's smooth and enjoyable.
Okay, so I should think about things like, how easy is it to find information about my products online?
Yeah.
What's the ordering process like?
Uh-huh.
How quickly can I ship orders?
And don't forget about things like your return policy
Oh, yeah?
and customer service.
Okay.
You want your customers to feel valued.
So it's not just about selling a product.
Right.
It's about building those relationships.
Exactly.
Creating a positive experience.
Absolutely. And that's something you can do from day one,
Yeah.
no matter how small your business is.
I think we've covered a lot of really helpful information today.
I hope so.
Any final words of wisdom for our budding entrepreneurs out there?
Just remember, distribution is an ongoing process.
Okay.
What works today might not work a year from now.
Right.
So stay flexible, be willing to adapt,
Yeah.
and never stop learning.
Awesome advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of distribution strategies.
My pleasure.
We hope you learned some valuable tips that you can use in your own business ventures.
Good luck out there.
Until next time, keep dreaming big and hustling hard.